Wealth, fame, power. Now, if you know the significance of these words, then you either have too much time on your hands, or you know exactly what peak fiction is. Well, it's the intro to One Piece, the story about a boy made of rubber who sets off with his crew to find the treasure of the deceased pirate king Gold D. Roger, wink wink, known as the One Piece, in order to claim his title as the king of the pirates. You know exactly what One Piece is. Who doesn't? You know how long the anime is. I mean, it's almost at 2,000 episodes as of September 2023. But now more people know of One Piece since Netflix has dropped their live-action adaptation of the famous story by Ichiro Oda. I'm here to tell you that Season 1 has worked. And it actually works so well, it might have just changed the game forever. It's really, really good actually. Like, I'm not even lying to you. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. It's not perfect by any means. No live-action adaptation of any manga or anime can be, for that matter. The first season had a very, very difficult challenge of trying to adapt 1,000 chapters, or about 50 episodes of the anime. And, well, it doesn't always do it well. Obviously, for the purpose of storytelling on television, budget, real-life constraints, like the fact that nobody in real life is made out of rubber, things needed to change. And because of this, a lot of arcs were kind of fast-forwarded, certain story beats were changed. I think the biggest example of this would have to be the pacing of the show, because the show is very fast. It just goes through stuff super quick. Obviously, with the anime and manga, they have the luxury of taking time to build plots, build stories, build characters, and then pay it off at the end. But with this, they kind of have to do it within the span of an hour. And for the most part, it actually works surprisingly well. And I think it worked because we knew this was going to be a factor. We knew that Syrup Village could only be an hour. It was never going to be most of the show. So I think we were mentally prepared for that. But even so, there's still bits and pieces where it felt like, it's like, well, you were here, now you're suddenly there. Like, for example, at the end of the Syrup Village episode, Usopp just kind of joins the crew. I mean, he does so in the manga, but it's just funny to think that, like, oh, this guy, one day he just meets this random kid. He's like, hey, you want to join my crew? And the kid, Usopp's like, nah, you're crazy. And then they help him stop a bad guy, and now he's just like, okay, we're friends, we're best friends now. I mean, the show does that a lot. It does it better because it has all the time to really develop these characters, and it just feels a bit rushed. Or like with Sanji, it feels like Sanji just joins because Zeph wants him to achieve his goals, and not because Sanji believes in Luffy, even though he does, obviously, but still. Like I said, some of the story beats also feel a bit off. In the Baratier episode, the original arc, Don Krieg plays a much bigger role, but obviously he wasn't gonna be in the episode because of the way it was structured and whatnot. But they still do have him show up, and instead of fighting the Straw Hats, he's actually just slain, or he's just killed by Mihawk. So, you know, you win some, you lose some, I suppose. Another complaint I have about the season, this is a really weird complaint, but I think some of the camera work's like a bit funky. If you know Netflix, you know Netflix loves to do wide angles and blue tones. Man, do they overuse the wide angle. It is so weird. They do this thing where whenever they have close-ups of characters between, whether it's a conversation or whatever, they'll use a wide angle, so then their faces just kind of look a little bit distorted, because you have this really wide shot of somebody up close and their face is like stretching out. Very weird complaint I have. I find it interesting that in this incarnation of Luffy, this version of Luffy played by Iñaki Godoy, first of all, he did a great job. We're gonna talk more about that later, but he's a lot smarter than the Luffy we know. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. It's just kind of something that you have to get used to. I mean, he still captures the essence of Luffy very well, but his intelligence is just a little bit higher. Nitpicks aside, these are nothing. This is actually nothing in comparison to what I enjoyed about the show. Because honestly, the show works. I've spent many years trying to figure out why live action adaptations don't work. Obviously, with animation, you can do about anything. The rules of what exists in the reality of animation are different than the rules of real life, because we must abide by, oh, if this is too unnatural, it'll take us out of the story, right? But even a show that would theoretically work in live action, such as Cowboy Bebop or Death Note, has proved to be a failure. Now, why is that? What I've come to the conclusion of is that what this show does different than others is that it captures the spirit of the original property. It captures the spirit of what One Piece is. Many adaptations, if you've noticed, try to just recreate scenes one-on-one without actually having the substance of the scenes, and so this is what makes it fall flat. I mean, you could see it. Netflix's Cowboy Bebop tried to do this with Ballad of the Fallen Angels. They recreated the famous shot, Vicious pointing his sword at Spike while he's on the floor in front of the tainted glass window, and it just doesn't work because we're not emotionally connected with the story but at this point in time. And that's the biggest issue with shows like that, is that show doesn't feel like Cowboy Bebop. Death Note doesn't feel like Death Note, but One Piece feels like One Piece. This show captures the essence and spirit of what One Piece is to a T. It's not even funny. What really this comes down to is the fantastic cast. If you look at this cast, relatively speaking, they're more unknown than anything. These are not A-list celebrities. This is the best thing they could have gone for. Rather than going for a cast for the name's sake, they went for the cast that represents what the characters are. And this is exactly why capturing the essence of a show is so important. You can watch Naruto for the action, but at the end of the day, you're driven by the characters. The action works because you want Naruto to win. You want him to save Sasuke. You want him to be Hokage. Now, in the case of One Piece, you want Luffy to win. You want him to become king of the pirates. You want Zoro to be the greatest swordsman. You want Sanji to find the All Blue. So on and so forth. The thing about One Piece is that we fall in love with these characters because they believe in themselves so much. It doesn't even matter if everybody else in the story doesn't believe in them. As long as they believe in themselves, then you get to a point where eventually you start to believe that they can achieve their dreams and you follow them. Now you're part of their crew. And the cast just captures this perfectly. It really got to a point where it felt like the actors aren't playing the characters, they are the characters. I remember I would watch like behind the scenes or like cast interviews, and you could just see it in their eyes that they were meant to be these characters. Man, I mean, there's several points throughout the story where I'm thinking, damn, Iñaki is Luffy. He just has that childlike innocence and that drive to be at the top that no other person has, and I love it. Even minor characters are cast perfectly. It just felt like everybody worked. Okay, maybe not everybody, but about 90% of the cast worked. Throughout the show, I just kept thinking, oh man, this actor really did a good job. This is probably the standout performance. And then I kept saying that about another character, and I kept saying that about another character, and it's like, damn, is everybody just this good? And so that's why I think it's a little bit hard to pinpoint who really came out on top in terms of characters. Obviously, people are going to have their favorites. Who's going to be a fan favorite? Your Buggies, your Mihawks, your Zoros. But I think everybody did a great job. But to that extent, I think that just shows you how much the cast and crew really, really do care about the material and how much effort they put into making this for the fans and even making this story for new audiences to enjoy. And now, if I had to pinpoint a couple of the performances that I thought really, really stood out to me, the ones that I really enjoyed the most, I think Iñaki Godoy was fantastic as Luffy. He, like I said, he captures the spirit of Luffy. He is Luffy. Emily Rudd as Nami was perfect. She has already been a fan of the property, and she understands what Nami's philosophy is, who she is really deep inside. Makenyu as Zoro is so hilarious. It's not like a funny, he's good as Zoro. To me, Zoro's like unironically one of the funniest characters, and Makenyu just captures that so well. His stoicism is so funny to me. Aiden Scott as Helmeppo. This is probably one of the better castings. Like, he was in the show for so much, and I think that was the best thing, one of the best things they could have done. He is so funny. Jeff Ward as Buggy. He is Buggy. I can't wait to see him come back in the show. I hope if they ever do an Impel Down in live action, the dynamic between him and Yaki would be hilarious. Stephen Ward as Mihawk is sly. He's cool. He fits the role. He is Mihawk. Man, everybody's great. I can't do this. I can't pin this down. And everything in the show just looked the part. I want to say about 80% of the show is practical effects, and it paid off. The sets, everybody knows the sets. The sets are gorgeous. The Baratier, they use that set for a lot. But man, is it a good looking set? The Going Merry just looks fantastic in the water. All the costumes are amazing. The makeup, I mean, especially the fishmen. Now, I won't lie. When I first saw the trailers, I thought Arlong looked a bit goofy, but seeing it in the show, I think it worked. All of the fishmen looked like fishmen. Like, that's exactly what I would imagine them to look in real life. Obviously, Arlong's not going to be 7 feet tall in real life, but he looks like Arlong, and he is Arlong in my mind, and I think it works. And all the makeup, the prosthetics are awesome. They look weird, but not weird enough so that it doesn't take you out of the story. I think it's at a point where it makes sense within the context of the story and within this universe that they're trying to build. Now, on top of that, the choreography is stunning. Everybody is going to complain about the stretching CGI in Luffy, and honestly, I have my nitpicks about it too. There's nothing much that can be done about it besides just giving them more time and a bigger budget, because stretchy skin has always been a difficult thing in media, and so it's kind of a shame that they don't get to use it as freely as Luffy would realistically use it. But they make up for it with other fight scenes. I mean, Zoro's three-sword style does not feel goofy in any way. Mackenyu is a great actor. You could tell he cares about the character of Zoro and the authenticity that comes with his fighting style. And same thing with Sanji for that matter. His feet work is great. There's a couple scenes where he'll like do a flip in the air or he'll jump and it goes a little slow and you can tell he's on wires, but I think for this it works and it still looks good and plausible. So all in all, like I keep saying, the show worked. One Piece is a show that makes you believe in your dreams. For most shows, you can watch a couple episodes and get an idea of whether you'll like it or not, but One Piece is different. You have to read about 100 chapters or watch about 50 episodes of the anime in order to understand if you really are gonna like the show or not. The point whether you realize it, whether you like it or not, comes when the walk happens. If you've seen or read it, you know what the walk is. At that point, for me at least, that's when it stopped being a show and became an experience. And I'm surprised that somehow Netflix captured that emotion out of the property. And it's weird because I remember watching the show and I got to Reverse Mountain, which is the arc that is coming up, and I have the same feeling now that I finished the show that I did when I got to that point, which is about the same point in the story. And I was motivated, I was nervous, and I was excited to see what was to come next. That's how I feel about this show. I'm happy. I'm excited to see where they take the show, how they push the limits of making a live action adaptation, and what happens. Obviously, hats off to all the cast and crew. They poured the soul of One Piece into this, and their hard work does not go unseen. I can't wait to see what they do next season and who they bring in, who they cast as these characters. I mean, hey Netflix, if you're watching this, I do look a little bit like Ace or Trafalgar Law, so if you want to get me on the phone, I'll be in South Africa ASAP. Please hire me. Hey, but give it a shot. Obviously, I'm pretty biased. I'm already a big fan of One Piece. But if you've never seen One Piece, I say you check it out. Get an idea of why people are so intrigued by this story and why people have stuck around for so long. And maybe then you'll stick around as well. And as per usual, guys, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch me talk about pirates. The views have been going up. The comments have been amazing. I love seeing your guys' opinions. So thank you so much. Just thank you for being here. Thank you for watching me talk about this. I don't know why you do that, but I appreciate it. So until next time, see ya.